Namaste, everyone. So, quick tidbit before we get started. If you haven't taken your before photos yet, now's the time to stop the video and go do that. Have somebody else just take a picture of you standing normally and one of you sitting normally. It's super important whether you share your data with us or not. There's no second chance for first impressions, right? So, for today's video, this is the very last of the getting ready to start videos. I know that can kind of seem like we're still crawling here, but this is really important stuff. And today, most of all, we want to take a look at where you're at right now, right? It's no good to just skip ahead to the solutions or they don't work. We have to take a look at what the problems are and gratitude for what they have to teach us, right? So don't worry about it. This is a super easy little lesson here. It's only 13 questions and I'm going to do them with you. So the questionnaire's name is How Easily Do You Move? That's what we want to look at. Why is this important? Well, it's important because motion is literally the core of life itself. If you're alive, then you are in motion. You are a vibrational being. This is literally where it's all at. So just to a bit of a warning before we get started here. I have been told my whole life that I am the queen of too much information, right? That's what the t-shirt's about, right? So what's the deal? Well, the bottom line is there's absolutely nothing that I can give you, which allows you to keep your privacy. You don't have to share this kind of stuff with somebody else, right? All I can do is help you, assist you with something, and that requires helpful and accurate information, no matter how personal it might be, right? So, you just all I can say is these questions really are important and they're tailored to make things work for you. By skipping them, you end up skipping. Well, then you're just wandering in the woods, aren't you? They're basically going to be your guiding light through these courses. So I would strongly encourage you to keep up with them. And if it's any consolation, if it's any comfort, I have spent 4 years working in a colonoscopy office. Kids, that's a doctor's office where they stick something up your butt to look around, right? So I have a pretty good idea of how to share and to not share sensitive information. Okay, so to get started here, get your pencil and paper out. First, we have 3 questions, very simple questions, but you don't just want to throw something down on the paper to have something down there. You want to give it a little thought, otherwise there's not much point in doing this. Now, you don't want to overthink it to death, but you want to make sure that you get this right. So stop and take a minute to think about however you normally feel, Some people don't even think about it. Some people know that they feel pretty good. Some people know that they feel pretty lousy, how not we're not looking at exceptions or when you're sick or first thing in the morning. Just on average, how would you describe it? Do you think you feel pretty fabulous? Good. Number 3 is for overworked but okay. If you're a kid, school can be a bit much, but you can't really complain. Grown-ups often feel overworked but okay, right? 4 is if you're a little sick all the time, and 5 is if you're just totally exhausted. You feel bad all the time. So just maybe write down the word normal and put a number down for you. And then think about how you feel when you wake up first thing in the morning. Some people, man, they could stop, drop, and roll like a fireman and they'd be ready to go. Not too many people are that wonderful feeling right when they wake up, right? Usually it takes a little bit to adjust. Some people need a cup of coffee. Some people need everyone to stay away for a couple of hours while they get their body going and they just can't deal with nothing, right? So where are you at? Do you feel pretty good? It's like, well, okay, I'm awake. I don't really want to be up. I didn't really want to go to school, but I'm okay, I got to work at feeling okay enough to go do anything. And just no. And then the same thing for when you go to sleep. How do you feel? If you're one of the kids, it's like, well, you're usually not tired and you can't go to sleep and it's kind of a struggle. That would probably be a number 3. It's like you're not really happy. It's not like, oh, I'm tired. I'd like to go to sleep, It's like, but you can't really complain. You're not feeling bad, right? Yeah, where do you go? How do you feel when you go to sleep? So that's it. That's the first 3 questions. The second set of questions, we're going to switch the board here a little so we can, a little difficult to do all this standing up, but we need a tall screen instead of a wide screen today for the chair shots. Okay, so the second one, grown-ups are probably laughing. Yeah, okay, that's showing up good. At the title, Don't Touch. It's most of this stuff is stuff most people don't even think about. But it has such a powerful effect on everything we do every day. It's definitely worth taking a look at. So let's start at the beginning. Take your paper and make a cross just like this, right? Put don't on one side and touch on the other. And then whichever answer belongs to you, applies to you, that's the one you write down on that side of the chart as we come up to it. So the first one is, would you rather use a fork or a spoon or something to eat with, or your fingers? It's not only kids that want to use their fingers, okay? Same thing. Would you rather wear shoes or go barefoot? Stop again. Don't overthink, but stop and think about it a little bit. I mean, if it's the middle of winter, everybody wears boots, of course. You don't want cold feet. But, if it was decent weather and you had your druthers, would you rather be able to feel things under your feet or be protected from whatever you might touch, right? Number 3, how ticklish are you? Would you say you're mostly ticklish or mostly not ticklish? You might have a few spots that are super sensitive, but the rest of you is pretty like, yeah, whatever, So mostly ticklish or mostly not ticklish. So you can put very over here on the don't side and not over here on the touch side. The next one is, if you want to try something new, would you rather follow some instructions, a few simple instructions to get something done, or would you rather feel your way? It might be kind of hard to answer this one at first because we don't get a lot of chances to do that feeling your way stuff, In our culture, there's a whole lot of no-touch stuff going on. So maybe stop to think about whether you'd rather play with some Play-Doh and not really know what you're going to make before you make it, right? Or would you rather put a little puzzle together or play a game that has clear rules or watch TV, Most people probably don't realize that watching movies and YouTube and stuff like that falls into the category of preferring instructions. You're just watching. And if you're, it's not about playing with your body, is it? Right. So which would you rather do? Would you rather have a few good instructions that you enjoy? Nobody likes bad instructions, of course, but would you rather have a few good instructions, or would you rather feel your way? The next one is fairly similar. Would you rather, if you had to get something done, would you rather use a tool, or would you rather just not have to mess with tools and be able to be talented with your body somehow to get it done? Everybody's probably going to like a little bit of both. I love playing with my hands, but some of my favorite tools are my computer and a $30,000 keyboard. Okay, that's as complicated as things get. I definitely like to have some tools, right? But in general, as you just go around, are you one of the people that just loves to play with gadgets all the time? You want to have something to use to get things done, right? Or would you rather not have to deal with all the crap and just use your body? Right. The next one is, would you rather sit and relax, or would you rather get up and move around? Right? Sit, stand, relax, move, whichever you like. The next one is, how does it normally feel? Instead of which would you rather, how does it normally feel when you do something new? Does it feel really awkward? It's like, wait a minute, this is not the way I normally do things. It's maybe just a little bit awkward. Maybe it's an awful lot awkward, right? But is it weird to try to do things that you're not used to doing? Or is it just kind of normal? It's like, ooh, something new. What does this do? Right? And then the last one, so if it feels awkward, it's over on the don't side. And if it feels pretty normal, it goes on the touch side. Last one is, what would other people say, right? Let's look at how other people seem to feel your ability to play with things. Do people complain that you're breaking things all the time? This doesn't, just because somebody complains that you're breaking things does not mean you have a problem with breaking things. Some people just have very junky stuff and they're always acting like everybody's breaking their stuff, right? That's not what we're talking about here. But when you think about all the people that know you, does it not even come up, or do you notice that things don't seem to last very long for you? You have to get a new phone every year. Some people, and they get mad when they have to turn over and buy a new computer 20 years later, because even though it still works perfectly, it's just not good enough anymore and no one will fix it, right? Which one are you? Believe it or not, babies actually belong over here. Now granted, civilized toys have no place in a baby's world. A baby is just going to drool all over a computer. You don't give them a computer, right? But if you stick with natural stuff, they are totally interested in everything they do, and they want to figure, they're curious, right? So they're very mindful about how they play with things, some people are arguing here. It's like, what are you talking about? My kid is always whacking things. Wham, wham, wham. Well, that can happen, right? If we don't get a chance, if we're maybe wearing too many clothes all the time, we're always sitting in baby carriers of some time, we get to be a slammer. Absolutely. But that is something we learn how to do in the very beginning. Everyone feels their way, right? So that is the don't touch list. Pretty simple, right? So count up how many you have on the don't side and how many you have on the touch side. Pretty easy, right? As you can see, it's kind of starting to look like this is the good side and this is the bad side, right? Well, that's definitely not exactly how this works. Some of this is just personality stuff, right? And some of this is, it's okay to learn. Like, I know lots of people, well, okay, maybe not that many, but I know quite a few talented tinkers who are very, very good with tools. They love their tools. They love their tools like I love my keyboard, right? How did they get that way? Well, they got that way by learning to use their body very well, didn't they? If you can't really use your body and you can't feel things with your body, how are you supposed to be able to feel things with a tool? It's even harder, right? So we can absolutely learn to do things like this. If we're 80 years old, it's like, you know what? I get to touch things all day long. I don't need to make a mess every time I eat. I'd rather have a spoon. Thank you very much. That's allowed, okay? But you get the idea. If you're all on this side of the board here, what you're learning here is that you haven't had a chance to learn how to use your body. It's not something to start slamming your parents about, because that's the first thing that jumps up, right? It's like, I knew it. I want to play with stuff and they never let me play. Well, that's true. That's absolutely true. That's definitely been happening. But stop and think about what it was like to be them. Okay, in their world, they didn't have a choice. They had to be good at this body stuff. Nobody even knew it was something to talk about. If you weren't good at this body stuff, you were dead, okay? All they knew is that life was brutal, it was a struggle, and they wanted to provide some of this stuff for their kids so they did not have to suffer as bad as they did. Okay, that's important to understand, you guys. Nobody's doing this to be a butthead, all right? There's a reason they got to be like this that has nothing to do with being stupid or mean, right? So just take a breath, right? It's like, well, yeah, if you're sick of struggling and everything is brutal hard, there is nothing you like better than a little service and some tools and not have to work so hard. Absolutely. But it works both ways, right? If all we ever get is this, how are we supposed to learn to use our body? And then nothing works, right? So we just want to find some balance. It doesn't matter where we're at. So the next set of questions, we only have 2 questions left. I know there's a lot of numbers there, but it's a ranking just like this one. There's only 2 questions up at the very top here. We want to rank your posture. But before we do that, we got to give you a bit of a clue as to what posture is, right? So let's see. We got to move the computer here just a moment. All right. Wow, having serious problems. There we go. Okay. So, you may have heard doctors talk about how healthy posture really is the easiest. And pretty much nobody listens because they don't care because they're comfortable, right? Well, there's a reason the doctors are trying to talk about it, and it's because it's actually really important. You would be dumbfounded at the truth. I have broken my back not just once, but twice. So that's what the doctor would call an acute injury. You had a traumatic event, right? Something happened suddenly and it did a lot of damage. It sounds horrible, right? Nobody wants to be in a car wreck or do something terrible, right? Yeah, it is terrible. It's absolutely terrible. But the truth is, the reason the doctors are talking about this is that just, your normal slouch that you don't even care about and doesn't feel bad does way, 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 way more damage than any traumatic injury ever could. I mean, unless you literally broke every single bone in your body and, you're hooked up to machines now. Nope, sorry, but the slouch is worse. So what's the deal here? Well, let's see. Oh, yes, and I can say that from personal experience too, because I've done it both ways. Not only have I broken my back, but I also learned to be a slouch just like normal. Everybody's staring at their screens and stuff, right? And I can tell you for nothing that the bone spur I developed in my neck is way, way, way worse than those injuries. That's a big deal. So, all right. So what's going on with the slouch here? Well, if you go to a chiropractor, the first thing they're going to show you, they're going to start talking to you. Oh, make sure I'm on the camera here, about a banana curve in your neck, right? You're supposed to be standing kind of like this. Most of you actually are not even going to be able to do what I'm about to show you. Kind of looks like you're looking down your nose at the world, doesn't it? It turns out that that's actually proper posture. If you are actually if your head is kind of tipped up like that, like you're looking at the sky all the time, you're not actually looking at the sky. And what happens is that your whole field of vision actually doubles. It's amazing, right? That's what happens when you get proper posture. You use that banana curve. So, what are most people doing? Well, of course, a slouch means you're doing the opposite, right? Now stop and think about that. This isn't just a little bit of a stretch, you guys. That is the complete opposite. Instead of one curve, you have the complete opposite curve going on. And you're staying there all the time. You are literally stuck in the splits. Like a little ballerina in a little girl movie, right? You're stuck in the splits all the time. If you don't believe me, what happens when you go to sleep at night? You have to shove a big old pillow under your head, right? If you don't have a pillow, it's uncomfortable, isn't it? You have to shove a big old pillow under your head to hold your head up into the position that you normally slouch in, because if you try to do anything else, it's going to hurt. Okay? This is for real, you guys. If you go into a store, for example, and you want to do some weightlifting, right? And you go to the exercise section, you're going to find 1 and 2 pound weights. 1 and 2 pound weights, right? Like, it might seem kind of wimpy. I dare you to try one. Do like 10 or 15 arm curls with one of those wimpy little 1 or 2 pound weights. I guarantee you your arm's going to be sore. Okay? So, stop to think about it. This thing is 15 pounds. Even if you're just a little kid and it's only 7 pounds, it's a whole lot more than what you find in the exercise section, isn't it? Okay, this is a big deal. You really are stuck in the splits. And even though your body has totally adapted, see, that's the miracle of life, It just goes along with whatever our choices are as much as it's able to. It takes a long time for your body to start whining about your slouch. And by the time that it does, you're stuck. Now you don't know how to move. You can't do anything else, right? So ideally, you want to start doing this stuff before it's a big problem. Okay, so I want to show you something here. Now's the part for the chair. Pull something up that you can sit on. I have to make mine a little taller chair so that you can see me. It's a little better if you're in a regular chair, so you can have regular square legs here. There, are we in the... No. Closer to the... There we go here. There we go. That should work pretty good. Okay, so the first thing to do is just totally slouch over. Just let everything go, right? I mean, this is what usually feels easiest, right? Because if we're not using energy to hold ourselves up, it just feels comfortable. And that's true. Slouching can feel comfortable. Okay, so just sit there for a minute and breathe. Okay, now we're going to fix our posture. So take your knees, kind of line them up with your hips. Make sure your ankles are, your heels are right underneath your knees. It's kind of square. Your knees are lined up with your hips. Just kind of make everything nice and square there, right? And then take your shoulders, put them back, and tip your chin up, right? I mean, what a difference, right? This is not rocket science, you guys. Your lungs are a lot like the kitchen counter. If you walk into the kitchen and the counter is covered in dishes, can't nobody use the kitchen, and the whole house is crabby, right? Your organs are no different. If you are slouching all the time, literally nothing is working properly. That Supergirl t-shirt in the first one, yeah, that's really what we are. And we don't know it because we're doing stuff like this all of the time. Okay, it's not nearly as far-fetched as it sounds, for real. Okay, so we don't want to get lost here. Where are we at? Okay, so yes, so that's what's going on with our posture. So now that you have, yes, where are we at? Oh my goodness. Okay, we got a few more minutes yet, so we can sneak this in. They say that most of the world's population is under 30 right now. And everybody knows what the problem is, right? Everybody's stuck on their screens. Absolutely. But what you don't know is that before that was a problem, there was an even bigger problem underneath. And if you don't learn something about it, it's going to end up tripping you up constantly. You're going to wonder where this stuff is coming from. So I want to take a minute to explain what was going on in the days before screens, right? The problem is that we had the idea that proper posture was bad, right? What we now know is unhealthy posture was what was treated as good posture, literally. Like, this is what all the rich people did. This is what everybody aspired to. It's not like, oh, someone somewhere thought, no. Like, this is just in general with everyone, right? Everyone thought that good posture was bad posture. So this is a good one to do with me again. I want to show you what this was like. The first thing that you had to understand if you were a boy, right? Well, actually, it doesn't matter, boy or girl, right? The first thing you need to understand is that you are not an animal and you do not have a tail. Oh, the first thing you need to do is tuck your butt. Now, this is extremely difficult for me to do. I can already feel this starting a cramp. Some people are used to standing like this all the time, right? It kind of makes your feet want to go out to the side like a duck so that you can stay standing up, right? It can be hard to see in a video. In the video, it still looks like I have a butt, partly just because I got fat in my butt and I'm a girl, right? But I'm actually, like, my spine gets longer. Instead of just letting myself stand like I would normally stand, I put my hips forward, right? This is how you were supposed to stand. And it does feel awkward. If you don't feel awkward, then you're not doing it, okay? Your feet want to go off to try to balance it, but you're not allowed to do that. So this good soldier has to tuck his butt. And then you put your knees completely together. No space between your legs at all, right? Woo! And you keep your feet facing straight forward. Like, this should be uncomfortable. If this is very uncomfortable for you right now, that's a good sign. Now, you are allowed to put your shoulders back. Oh, without that, I'd be spasming. And you look him dead in the eye, right? Like a man. That was a good soldier. Ooh. Okay. Wow. That's some awful stuff there, right? But that's what people considered good posture to be, for real. All of this stuff, it was kind of crazy. It's like everybody knows that having flat feet is really bad for you. They won't even let you into the army if you have flat feet. But in our not so long ago history, flat feet was a sign of wealth and privilege. That was a rich people problem. They were able to wear proper shoes all the time. It's like, the proper shoes, those were causing the problems, right? So what was it like if you were a girl? Well, if you were a girl, it was even worse. Not only do you have to do this god-awful butt tuck thing, right? But you also have to make sure that you don't put your shoulders back. Okay, those need to go down because a good wife knows their place. You know, your husband might honor you if you're fortunate, you know, but regardless of whether they do or not, no man wants to marry a hussy who's going to stand around like this and put themselves forward. Okay, you have to keep your eyes down. You don't really make eye contact, and you keep those shoulders submissive, right? So this is something we need to know about, because if we don't, we're just going to keep tripping over it. We're just going to keep it up. We're just going to keep going. What do you mean? Well, that was supposed to be proper posture, so what's wrong with it? Well, lots is wrong with it. We have to stop and think about it and notice it and acknowledge it. If you think that this is just a little screen problem, you know, maybe you're only 8 years old. Not a big deal. You just think screens are the problem, not just, no, okay? I mean, you are up against a mountain way, way, way bigger than you could possibly imagine. Our whole culture has been crafted to give you bad posture. That is something that we need to become aware about, or else you're just going to be stuck in it and you're not going to know why things just never work, right? So, you know, if you're older, cut yourself a little slack. You know, if you're giving yourself a hard time because, you know, it's like, well, I know that I should be doing this stuff better and it's supposed to feel good for me. What is my problem? Because there's a whole lot of reasons why. Cut yourself a little slack. This is not something that anybody can just quit. It's not going to happen. That's totally unrealistic. But it is something that will just automatically disappear when you learn to replace it with something better, right? Okay, so let's use what we just learned here. We only got a few minutes left here. Let's use what we just learned to give yourself a posture rating. Oh, we got to switch over to the other side of the board here. Okay, so we want the far side now. The posture rating. This is a very important number that you're going to end up using throughout all the videos to decide which version of a lesson you want to watch, right? Pretty straightforward, but again, important to get right. So let me make sure I'm not missing anything here. Okay. Number one is fabulous, baby, right? If you're a gymnast, if you know that you have good posture all the time and it's just automatic, that's your habit, you are a number one. Number two is, you know what proper posture is, and you spend time and energy thinking about it, paying attention to it, right? Like sometimes you do catch yourself slouching, but it's something that you're aware of and you want to be aware of. So you pay attention to it and you notice when you're slouching and you correct it, right? That's a number two. Number three is, you're pretty sure you have decent posture, but you know you slouch sometimes. You know, when you're playing video games, you totally curl into that video game chair built like the letter C, you know, whatever. You know you slouch sometimes, but you think you still have pretty good posture. Number four is, you know you pretty much slouch probably more often than you realize, maybe most of the time. You usually slouch, but you're not in any pain. You know, you don't think anything of it. Number five is, sometimes it's uncomfortable. You know you're a slouch, and sometimes you get stiff and sore, right? Number six is, you are usually stiff and sore. Like, you know you're a slouch, and you know that you're usually kind of stiff and kind of sore. You know, it takes a little bit of effort to move from the chair to the table or whatever. You know, get in and out of the car. These things start to become difficult, right? Number seven is, it's gone beyond being uncomfortable now, right? Now you know you're in pain. 7 through 9 is where you're actually hurting. So in number 7, it hurts, but you can still move. You know, maybe if you move in just the right way, then it won't hurt. It can be very helpful. That's how I learned how to relearn how to move, is by breaking my back, right? It's a very helpful number. Number 8 is, it hurts, and it's really hard to move. You know, it's like you're starting to have serious problems now. And number 9, of course, is, it hurts, and you can't really move without help. You need some kind of a tool. You need some kind of assistance. Maybe you need somebody to physically pick you up and move you. It's gotten real bad. It's as bad as it gets, right? So that's it. Where are you at? I said 2 questions, not just one. So you want to think about which number applies to you when you're doing your normal work or school thing, and which number applies to you when you are relaxing. So you can just write work or school and put a number, and then write relax and put a number. That's about it. Fine job. See, that wasn't so hard, was it? Again, send me a picture, picture of what you wrote down. Put your name and the date on the piece of paper, right? And send it to me at ange@cleaninguplady.us so that we can track your data for your course and help improve this course for all the schools. Namaste.